What if passports were stamped with experiences instead of places? With Luxury Gold, each journey brings you unforgettable passport moments. In Japan, join a private sushi making class with a master chef and witness the cherry blossoms alongside a tree doctor. Experiences like these are the golden threads that make up your Luxury Gold journey. To learn more, contact your travel advisor or visit luxurygold.com/Japan.
Edit audio.
Okay, so Steph, tell me if you remember this. You were over and we were having drinks and you were sitting on my couch. Your leg wasn't broken at the time. And I was trying to figure out like what my next move was. And I was like, I was wrapping up the old podcast I was working on and I was trying to figure it out. And you were like, like 3 glasses of wine in and you were like, well, let's make a podcast together. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, what does that mean? I had all these ideas and I wanted to do it. And you were like, well, make it an Edit Audio original. And you did not even know what my podcast idea was. You were just like, let's do this. Do you remember that?
Like vaguely. I remember.
This is how you make business decisions, by the way.
I remember the day. And I remember saying that to you, but I also remember thinking like, oh, like you're not going to go for this. Like you obviously have this like big idea that you want to sell to like Amazon or something. So in my head, I was like, yeah, let's make a podcast, like thinking like, let's just do something fun together. You need to do something fun.
Well, I am still so thankful that you did that because it was like such a perfect, because we had been working together on the past podcast for years and I love your vibe and I loved your team's vibe.
Well, same. I wouldn't have said that otherwise.
I know, but it was just like to me, that was such an important moment that you just took a risk on me. I felt like you were taking a big risk on me by like saying, yeah, let's do this without even knowing what it was. And you were like, look, I know you, I know what you like. It'll be great. And I was like, okay. So then enter Edit Audio and Well Adjusting.
Yay!
And here we are.
And I was right.
We were right. And the experience has been incredible for me. For the first time, I'm partnering with this amazing team. How do you say incredible in French?
Incroyable.
I can't with the accent. You do it again.
Incroyable.
It's been that. And, you're obviously the CEO of this company and you have this amazing team, Maria and Kathleen and Melissa, and everybody has been behind this podcast. But I think what a lot of folks don't know is that we put this whole season in the can, like this summer almost?
Yeah.
And that was because it takes a minute to get your format, to get the show and to know what you want to do and put your production flow in place. I still think there's a lot of people out there who think you just go set up the mic and hit record and that's a podcast.
For sure.
And you run a business where you can say that's not true.
Wicked not true.
Yes.
I mean, you can do that, but it won't sound like this.
I would not advise it. So, it took us a minute to build the show, to build the platform. But I am so proud of the stories that we have done from season 1. I mean, and the impact that they've had on listeners and the feedback that we've received, right?
God. I think every time I get a message that's like, oh, this is a really good episode, or this one thing stuck out to me, or like people will like write down quotes of yours and be like, oh, I've like been telling myself this.
Someone on Instagram sent me a quote and Mary walked by as I was reading. I said, Mary, isn't this so nice? And all Mary said was, you wrote that? You said that? And I was like, yeah, I think I did, Mare.
Like, someone has to humble us.
I know. Please. It's so good. So, this has been such a wonderful experience. Usually when I take on a big new project, I throw my back out. I have not thrown my back out.
Yay.
And so, as you may be guessing from this rambly intro, we are wrapping up this first season of Well Adjusting. And we're going to look back because it has been a hot minute since we interviewed everybody, how our guests are doing since I was hounding them with questions and you were telling me to stop hounding them with questions, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you ready? Should we step into this?
I'm so ready. I'm curious to see where people are at.
I know, I'm so excited. Hello, folks. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but, not in an NPR way, more like we're at the bar, and we're having cocktails, and I am getting into your business sort of way.
Oh, we love a cocktail.
Oh, and producer Steph is here, too.
Oh, yeah. Hi, that's me.
You have been an integral part of this season, chiming in when I say something inappropriate, when we're off topic, keeping us focused. It has been nice to have you. Has it been a fun experience for you?
It's been awful. No, it's been great. It's super fun. I mean, I could do a podcast like just with you, talking to you, listening to you. So it's been great for me.
And you, obviously, since we're doing this together. we're going to chat about some of the episodes that have been impactful for us personally. I mean, it's like you kind of got to say that thing. Every time I'd be like, oh, this is one of my favorite episodes. Yeah. But they're like kids.
Yeah, we're like parents. You're not supposed to pick favorites. But in this case, I really don't know who's my favorite.
It is true. It is true. But before we go on, I do have to say, don't panic. Okay. If you are hearing all this, like, wait, what? This is ending? Season 1 already? You just started? Like, don't panic. We are already in production for season 2. And what do we need from people, Steph?
Some questions. If you want to talk to us, you can reach out. If you have like an issue right now that you're going through and you're like, what I would really love to do is sit down with Robin.
Right?
Hit us up.
We would love to have you on season 2 or beyond. I'm putting that out into the universe, or beyond. So all you have to do to reach out to us is you can email us at hello@editaudio.
Hello@editaud.io. So that's
so hard.
hello@editaud.io.
Or if you're like me and that was really difficult, you can just DM me on the socials at RealRobHops.
Yeah, or any of the Edit Audio accounts.
Exactly.
Literally just hit us up anywhere.
For God's sakes, we'll respond. We're obsessively checking. So we would love to hear from you. Don't be shy. We would love all of your questions about finance, the workplace, self-helpy, life planning questions, anything like that.
Love.
Reach out. Ooh, we didn't tackle relationships in season 1. I would love some questions about relationships.
Some questions about love.
Oh, but also, by the way, what's so ridiculous about that, I was single for so much of my life and I barely somehow managed to nab Mary. So the idea that I might be helping anyone with relationships is kind of genius.
Yeah. Also me and my singlehood. We would love to talk to y'all. Season 2 is coming. Also, if you just are like, oh my God, I'm going to miss hearing Robin's voice so much, just hit us up and tell us a nice thing.
We would love that. We would love all of that. Okay, so let's get to some Where Are They Nows.
Let's do it.
First up, we are going to check in on where David was. Remember, David was
our first interview.
Our very first interview. An actor, had moved out to LA.
I wonder if he's still in LA.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, Robin. I am still in California. I'm having a good time out here still, actually. I found an apartment. I had to leave that apartment because my roommate at the time got a job in New York. So good for her, no bad blood. My car broke down, but hey, what are you gonna do? I'm learning the metro. As far as the career goes, I'm moving and shaking, hopefully with the right people, just having fun, keeping my eyes open for auditions, doing my self-tapes, keeping up on my reading, everything like that. So something is bound to take. It's just a matter of when. But until then, I'm just out here living my best life, having fun.
Aww. I just love his voice and his accent. I just love that kid. You know what's funny is I was out in LA for a work trip a few months ago, and I texted him and I said, listen, because the broke kids. I said, if you can get yourself to me, dinner's on me. And I was like, I don't know if he's coming. Half hour before I get a video from him, his wheel is off the car.
Oh my gosh.
And he's underneath the car and there's just liquids just pouring out of the car. And all he does is turn to the camera and go, I don't think I'm going to make it. And I was
amazing.
Oh my God. And I texted his mom and she said the other day someone put a flyer on his car that said, we pay for junk cars,
Oh
so
my gosh.
I think he was in a bad way.
So maybe he's lucky that he made it to LA.
But I'm so proud of him though for staying in spite of that man saying you're not gonna make it. You're gonna be home in 3 months.
That's what stuck with me. I was like, fuck that guy. David just brushed it off. He was like, I'm going to be out here. And now he sounds so positive. He's like, until something sticks, until an audition sticks, I'm going to be out here living my best life. I'm like, oh my God.
Listen,
the positivity is there.
And I offered my services as a mentor to him for the field of acting. And I was like, listen, if you want to be in this business for 25 years and maybe only book a handful of diabetes commercials, then I am definitely your mentor. I'm here for you.
Hey now.
I've booked other things besides diabetes meds, but that does seem to be really what's working for me right now.
Yeah, get it.
Anyway, it was
to David.
Great to hear from David. I still am out here hoping he kills it, but I'm proud of him for, losing your roommate could be enough to send you home if you're not
sure.
focused.
And your car. Like, that's a lot. I don't know if anyone's ever tried to figure out the metro system in LA. It ain't great.
Well, that part breaks my heart a little bit, seeing him like in my head on the buses.
It's horrible.
But you know, like I feel like that makes you stronger.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember in my 20s and I didn't have an air conditioner and I couldn't afford to drink beer at the bar. I had to like drink the beer at home first in order to have like one beer at the bar. It's like those they give you your focus. Those moments. All right. So now another early episode, Aileen. Let's hear what she's up to.
Hey everyone, it's Aileen with an update on the financial situation. I had a call with Robin last week and talked about some setbacks I've been having with my finances. Ran up one of my credit cards again. I wish it was with wild spending on fun things like vacations and clothes and whatnot, but just life, I guess. You know, when life creeps up and you think you're going one direction and you're really not. So, you know, got a little crazy, started thinking about things like selling my house and getting a second job, which I might still do. But I think at the end of the day, just got to keep reminding myself that it just takes time. Small habits, small changes lead to big habits and big changes. So I'm getting there, and I hope next time I do an update for you guys, it's like I have so much money, I don't know what to do with it, right? I mean, that could happen too. So, all right, you guys, be good. Ciao.
Oh, Aileen.
Aileen.
She does sound a little sad in this.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you had a setback.
So we had a call. And the call was around me, you know, hounding her for the where are they now? And, you know, and she was just like, I just don't know that I have anything good to share. And I was like, Bean, that's okay. You know, what I hear in this is some sadness, right? And I know this because I did talk to her. But also I hear she's doing that thing where you say the thing to yourself. It's like that mantra, like small habits make big changes. Like, and you can hear like maybe the belief is not quite there, but she's still saying it. And I think that brings right actions.
Yeah, for sure. I know I always say this metaphor, and I've probably said it in a past episode, but the like idea of the ladder, that like you go like up 5 steps and then you like fall down 2, but you're not at the bottom of the ladder.
Right.
Like you still have like a bunch of learnings from the like 3 steps that are there, and you're on your way up to the top.
Yeah. And also like to take your metaphor like a little bit further, like what if the image is in 3D and the ladder goes this way and then all of a sudden you're out here? It's like, I think that it's not a linear progression.
No.
Like you might, what feels like 2 steps back might actually be just like a shift onto another path. Part of the conversation I had with her is she was talking about, do I sell my house? Do I get a second job? And I said, Aileen, no. We talked a little bit about the nitty gritty. I was like, she was like, I think it's my mortgage. I can't overcome that. And out of that conversation, I said, you know, based on the numbers, like the facts, you make enough money to pay these things. And what we got to in that conversation is that behind it, like she has worth issues that are tied into money. And when something bad is happening in another area, and she's been through a lot of stuff in her life. She's had deaths in her family recently and was, you know, experiencing some work stuff. I said, I think you need to make connections and really like look at a journal or look at whatever to see what's going on in my life when I come over here and start beating myself up about my finances.
Yeah.
And I was making the connection to the way that I use food. Like it's an addictive behavior. Like if I'm having bad feelings or sometimes even exciting feelings, like I think sometimes I can't differentiate. It all just feels like chaos in my body, good and bad. It's just like, oh, this is
It's
out of
a lot
control.
when
I
it's
don't
a
like
lot.
this.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I might pick up a Snickers bar or something. Like I do a lot of joking about Snickers, but I'm at a deli getting candy and just eating it and trying to dampen the feelings. And I was saying to her, like, it might be time to, one, speak to someone because the facts aren't supporting your feelings.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really important thing, but, you know, that we need to sometimes look at, like, sometimes just awareness isn't enough. Like, you need someone to, like, it's like a knotted ball of yarn that you need to pull apart.
Yeah. Or you need, like, coming back to, we were talking about, like, writing down your wins. Like maybe seeing the positivity will help you like realize that like guilt or shame or whatever that core like bad feeling isn't so bad.
Right.
Or isn't
it's
forever.
not about that either, in addition to what you're saying. It's like that it may have nothing to do with your financial wins, and it might have everything to do with you're just feeling bad about yourself, and this is a space where you can hold yourself down. Yeah. And I don't think we necessarily do it on purpose, but I do think it's something we do instinctively.
For sure.
And I think that doesn't mean you throw out the baby with the bathwater. You don't get rid of the journaling and all these small win things and the mantras. Those are support materials. But that there are times when maybe you need to dig deeper, and there's connections that you might need help to break apart.
Yeah.
Because it's like I still stand by, and I am very connected because I've been with her on this journey, but I still stand by. Her progress is incredible, but she can't see it yet because she's tethered in some way that she hasn't been able to unhook.
Well, I'm glad that you're there to see it for her.
Oh my God, of course. When you know what it's like to torture yourself, how can you not want to help someone else? You know what I mean?
Retweet.
Right? All right. Well, thank you, Aileen, for sharing. And again, I really do think that just that openness to share your details is going to really help people.
Oh my gosh, so many people messaged me about that episode.
Yeah.
Like so many.
That's our most downloaded episode, by the way.
Really?
Not that I'm obsessively looking at number stuff. Let's go to our next one, which is Megan.
Ooh.
Hello, everyone. It's been a while. Well, I have not found a life coach yet, which would be something that I am still exploring and I think would be a great idea. But since the podcast, I have definitely started thinking about things differently in my life and directions that I want to go and the timing that it's going to take in order to achieve what I want to achieve in my life, which has been really eye-opening and wonderful. So yeah, it's been very interesting. The podcast was wonderful and amazing and really did open my eyes to myself, I guess, and things that I have noticed as a manager and just personally in my life, how I handle things. So it's been really great. And I hope I get a chance to come back on the podcast and talk about other things.
Maybe she comes back as an expert once she gets a life coach.
Love that.
All right, Megan. All right, I see you. I think there's something like, it's funny because it's like what we were talking about with Aileen, that awareness, that moment of seeing something differently. And I think Megan's, what she's saying here is actually almost like a commercial for getting help. Yeah. Because just having the conversation out of her own head with another person made her see things differently.
Yeah. And like she just self-identified. She was like, I'm seeing these things in my work, in my management style, in my life. Like, she's seeing patterns. Yeah. Which like once you're like connecting the dots, like that's a huge thing.
I think sometimes, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it, I think sometimes when you connect the dots, it can feel like a burden because like ignorance is bliss. Once you're aware of something, it's like, oh, geez, now I got to clean that up. Like, it's like if you don't see a mess in your living room and you just go about your day and there's no work to be done and you don't know it's there, but then once you know it's there, you got to clean it up.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think some people maybe notice the mess, but then avoid it. Yep. And it becomes like a really, like, they're like, oh, I don't see the mess. I don't see the mess. I don't see the mess. Yeah. And they like push it. So I would think that because Megan is saying that out loud, that it's like she's not doing that. No, she's doing the like, oh, I see the mess and I'm gonna address it. I'm just like connecting it.
Because one can turn into like a shame spiral of now I know there's a mess over there and I'm not handling it. And I don't hear that in what Megan's saying either, which is wonderful. I think my only thing that I would say is like you can't just like sit in the awareness phase forever and be like, well, I've learned these things. Like action needs to come from it. There was this quote in The Artist Way that I think of all the time: pray for the bus and then run to catch it. And I thought that was so profound, because it's like you have to put it out to the universe. You have to be aware. You have to like say, I want and need this thing. But then you have to do the work. Like you can't just stand there and be like, well, I hoped for the bus. Then it's like, there it is. You got to run. You know, you got to do the work too.
Yeah.
And so, not saying that Megan's not doing the work, but I think it's like a nice reminder of like, that's a lovely like place where she's at. But then if it's not followed by action.
I mean, if a life coach is good for anything, it's keeping you accountable.
Yeah. Okay, so now we are getting into sisters Steph and Nikki. And if you recall, this episode we're a little all over the place. It was our first time with two people with two stories and trying to like tell them succinctly. So we've got, of course, voice notes from both of them separately because they had separate journeys. So, all right, let's start with Steph.
Great name.
Hi, I'm Steph. I was the middle sister who was not very kind to myself and depriving myself of joy and also basic necessities. Since recording the podcast, I did move to London, England. So it's been definitely an experience in terms of finances. London, England is a very expensive city. I do think I am doing better and allowing myself to buy things that I know I can afford, and I sort of have some rules, I guess, in terms of, do I have anything like it? Do I really want it? I really try and like think about it for a few days before I just buy it. I don't just want to be buying things for the sake of spending that money, even though I know I was sort of pushing for that. I do think I just kind of also have to be kind to myself. One thing I did notice is I was having stress about money one day, and rather than sort of sitting around and letting it sort of build up and become something bigger than it needed to be, I did just actually call Nikki, my older sister, and sort of chat it out to see what the logical and smart thing to do was. And I think it was just helpful in that I could have almost come to that decision on my own. But I guess with anything that's causing you anxiety, to just get it off your chest and chat it out with somebody was really nice. Yeah, I think I'm definitely doing better, but I do think it's not an overnight thing. And whereas probably when I recorded that podcast, I had more liquid money, when I moved, I had to pay 5 months of my rent up front. So I went from having obviously a pretty large amount of money saved to move here. Most of it now is gone, but I won't have to pay rent in a couple months, which is great. But that was kind of something that I had to work through because it didn't really feel like I had anything to show for it. So yeah, we're improving, but it's a journey, not a marathon, not a sprint.
Marathon, not a sprint. Oh, that's amazing, amazing words. I have to tell you, right out of the gate, her saying she got into a situation where she wasn't sure what to do, and she called her sister. And that was one of the things that we said was a takeaway of like, you two can support one another. Yeah. I'm so proud of her for that.
Me too. That's hard to do, especially knowing like that they have kind of opposite but similar things. Like I think I can imagine Steph would be like a little scared.
Yeah.
To get whatever advice Nikki was giving. But I think they're both very supportive of each other. So that's great.
But also her willingness to lay out 7 months of rent up front and decimate her savings account, but knowing I'm going to put this money back. I'm over it, right? You're going to put the money back, Steph, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, of course she is. Who are we talking to?
She will.
But, you know, just the fact that she was willing to do that for the experience of going to live in another country. That's in an expensive country to boot.
And I will say, she said, and, you know, I spend a significant amount of my savings and have nothing to show for it. Girl, you have an apartment that you're living in. That is literally like...
And you're in another country.
In another country that you want, like, dreamed of living in. Like, that's a huge thing to show for.
Kinda, yeah.
Like, really big. Like, maybe the biggest thing.
But I think, you know, what's so interesting in that point that you're saying is, like, that's some of the old stuff that will always be there. That, like, well, I'm going to spend $300 on a parka, as you Canadian folks say. I'm going to spend that money on the parka, and what do I have to show for it? Well, you're comfortable. You're warm. You're going to not be sick. Like, you know, all the... even it's a necessity, you live a more comfortable life for having that necessity.
Yeah.
And I think, I did this one like self-helpy workshop. And one of the things I thought that was so incredible about it, at the end, they didn't do some like, and now, wand, you are healed. Like they were kind of like these things that you recognize about yourself that came up while you were here. They're going to come up for the rest of your life. And you have to commit to being a warrior when you see those things, to reset yourself. And they have like all this specific like lexicon of, of ways of working. So I'm not going to get into that, but you need to commit to doing the things that help you like recognize, ooh, I'm triggered.
Yeah.
I'm back in that space. And like for her, it's always like, I'm not buying the coat. Am I not buying the coat? And like recognize you're back there. And then she recognized it, called her sister.
Yeah. Those are like all separate big things. Like
amazing big things.
Yeah. That's huge. I
mean, I could not be more proud. And I'm so proud that because I think allyship is so important.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Have a warm pint for me. Have fun, get on the tube, do all the things. Look at castles. All right, let's hear what her sister Nikki is up to. I wonder if there's a competition. I'm doing better. No, I'm doing better.
So I think since being on the podcast, speaking to Robin about my money situation and my relationship to money, I've really taken a step back and kind of focused more on my purchases before I buy them. I think one of the topics that really was enlightening to me again was speaking about money related to self-worth and self-esteem, and looking at the purchases I'm making or the things that I think I need in relation to how I think they will increase my self-worth or value or etc. I think by noticing this and thinking about it while I'm looking to buy something or spend money allows me to really take a step back and recognize why I want to buy something. And it's actually helped curtail my purchases a little bit, I will say. My personal spending over the past few months since we recorded the podcast has been better. I was actually under budget for the month of November, so that's great news, at least for my personal budget. I will say we were over in my shared account with my partner, but it is before the holidays, so I'll let that one slide. But that's going to be my next ticket item to look at and curtail that spending as well. So I think that was kind of surprising to me, linking that self-worth topic and kind of speaking about it out loud and learning that that's probably a lot of the reasons why I buy a lot of the things I do. Well, none of them can really fulfill that purpose because it's not really possible.
Under budget.
That's like amazing. I think she said that she'd never been under budget. Remember we were like, the spreadsheet doesn't work.
She's like, no. We were like, how many times? She was like, no, never.
Incredible. Way to go, Nick.
I know. Good job. And also, this is kind of like going back to what we were talking about with Aileen, making that connection to why you're spending and having her understand it's a worth issue. Holy Mother of God, that's so incredibly important. Because then you can really say to yourself, like, what am I hoping to get out of these new shoes? Is this about status? Is this about maybe I'm feeling bad about myself? Maybe I'm feeling like I want to show off, or maybe I don't want to put words in her mouth, but like understanding why you're doing something takes the I must have this, off of it a little bit.
And it makes it more, once that becomes a routine, like the shoes are shiny, right? And you see them and you're like, oh, this is going to fix everything. But if you're like, oh, what is this going to fix? Anything can do that for you. It doesn't have to be the shoes. So then you can
gym
decide,
can help you in that way if it's a self-esteem issue.
Yeah. Literally taking a walk, calling your sister, like whatever you want it to be, it can be.
On the other podcast that I host called Dear Headspace, the meditation teachers talk all the time about that, taking that pause. Yeah. And since like hosting that, like I feel like I'm getting free therapy.
You are.
Just like host. I know. It's like, because I'm always like, say more about that. Yeah. Like, because that really applies to my life. Talk more about the pause. But like I have been thinking incessantly about the pause since they first mentioned it. And I've been trying to implement it with food. Like I have an urge to go get a Twix bar. Like what is going on for me? Am I having feelings right now? Like what am I? And if I still want to do it in like an hour, then maybe I go do it. But like what is happening, and can I reset, and can I get back to my breath? Can I do? And sometimes I'm able to do it. Sometimes I am not.
Yeah. I think
Sometimes I'm just getting that fucking Twix bar.
this is like the best advice I think I've ever been given. It's okay to say like, I'm not sure. Can I get back to you?
Right.
Which like it was applied to me in a very specific way where someone was asking me for help and I was like, I don't know how I feel about giving this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know how to word this email, like blah, blah, blah. My friend was like, well, just say like, you're not sure and you'll get back to them. And I was like, I didn't even think of that as an option.
No.
Especially like I'm a fixer, I'm a doer. Like you are very similar to me in that way.
What?
I'm
No.
like, let's go. Let's solve it. Like, you know, I'm like, go
Yeah.
all the time. And I think it's a similar piece of advice. Like the more obvious option should be like, oh, let me just take a pause.
Yeah.
Like think about it and I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
I can go get the Twix bar in an hour. The
But
Twix
there
bar is
would-
still going to be there.
Still gonna be at the
I
deli.
can go get the shoes in a month.
Yeah.
I can give this person advice in a month when it works for me instead of right now when they want it, if I feel good about it, or I can say no.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's like really good advice. I love that.
Yeah. And the fact that she kind of intuitively brought that to like that she took out of the conversation, oh, that will help me.
Yeah.
And now she has a tool to
Yeah.
pause. Like
I
she
mean-
has a tool that's in her toolbox that will never be taken away. She might forget that she has it sometimes, but it's just like when you find a lovely shirt in the back of your closet that you forgot about that made you happy. You're like, oh, well, God damn it. I love that shirt. It's there.
Yeah.
That's why I think making a list of your toolkit can sometimes be really helpful too.
Yeah.
So you can be like, what the fuck? And then you can look and you can be like, journal. No, I can't journal right now. Talk to a friend. I can't talk to a friend. You know, pause and maybe do a quick meditation in the bathroom. I can do that right now. I have 2 minutes and don't have to make this purchase right now.
A meditation in the bathroom using
Right?
Dear
I don't know
Headspace.
why I have everybody hiding in the bathroom. I don't know what's going on.
I will say, just because I'm allowed to give Nikki shit because she is my childhood best friend, like you're still like over spreadsheeting. So
I thought she said, now we're going to have to get confirmation on this, but I could have sworn she said she gave up the spreadsheet, the electronic spreadsheet.
she was going to
And
just
she was
use
just
an
going to use
app.
Mint.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna call
So find
her.
out if she did that.
Hello.
Hi, Nicole.
Oh, hi, Nikki. We have a follow-up question for you after your voice
okay.
memo. Did you give up any of your spreadsheets? Are you only using your apps or are you still using your spreadsheets and your apps?
No, I'm still using my spreadsheet.
All right, that's okay. Place to grow. Place to grow.
What's something that you either have bought or haven't bought lately that you're proud of?
Oh, well, yesterday I didn't buy a $300 Staub pot. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Damn.
Good
Yeah,
for
right?
you.
And then what did I buy recently that I really liked? I kind of divvied my budget up better in a way where I was really overspending on clothes recently because I've been trying to update my style. So I gave myself like $250 a month to spend on clothes, which is like a lot, but even like a pair of jeans is that much. So, and then I find I can track it better in my head. So I need my spreadsheet less, and it kind of allows me to do it without feeling so guilty, having like more of a limit and not being like lumped into my just overall budget for the month.
Oh, that's cool. So you made like a bucket for...
For a need or a want.
Yeah, so I have like my clothing budget, and then I bought stuff this month, and I actually didn't feel guilty about it because I'm under my budget.
Good for you. Well, we're so proud of you, and we were just waxing poetically about you.
Yeah.
Aw, thanks, guys. I'm able to fully contribute to my house savings this month, so I'm in a good direction.
Yay!
Amazing. Good for
Yeah.
you.
Okay, love you. I
Yeah.
am recording.
Okay,
so I'm
love
gonna
you.
go.
Okay,
Also,
bye.
we recorded you legally. I have to tell you that. Bye, love you.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, bye, love you.
That was so good. Okay,
Yeah.
so she didn't give up all the spreadsheets, but she's
doing more buckets.
She is. I know, and I heard that as she did. She has actually made more buckets, but the buckets sounded like it
seems
freed her
healthy.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because before the buckets weren't working.
No.
And you know it's working because there's a real outcome that we can point to, which is she was able to fully contribute to her mortgage savings this month because she is doing it in this way. So you know it's working when you have a real and tangible outcome.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God. I love the sisters. I love the sisters. So now we are on Serena. And this was a okay, but first wait. We have to send first we have to play the one that she sent us first that we opened up and we were like, wait, what?
Oh God, the cat has started meowing in the background. I apologize if you can hear that. Can you hear that? That's so funny. Let me shut her up first.
And you can hear the cat like meow in the background. Oh my God, that's so great. Okay, so that is not actually Serena's update.
Okay, but I need you to know I accidentally sent that to you.
Oh, you did?
Yes, so I was texting Serena and I was like, yo, send me your like voice note update. And she was like, yeah, okay. And then sent it to me after work and I was at the bar. So I couldn't listen to it, but she sent it as like a voice note over text. And I was like, okay, great. So I just texted it to Robin because I knew Robin was writing the script that night. So I was like, here, Robin, like, here's a voice note from Serena. And then she sent me one like 5 minutes later that was like the actual one. And I was like, oh no, what the fuck did I send Robin?
And then I was like, the cat. And I was like, we're obviously this goes in the show.
And I was like crying because I was laughing so hard because it could have been really much worse.
Can you imagine?
No. But I am sorry, Serena.
Oh my God. All right, here's her actual update. Oh my God, the cat.
Okay, where am I now? I don't know where I am now, if I'm being honest. How are things on the grief front? Great question. They're the same. In fact, they might even be heightened. I recently have been going through a bit of a breakup. Not a bit of a breakup, definitely a breakup. And it's interesting how changes like that, what's the word? Exacerbate? Like make the grief feel so much more intense because it feels like you're losing somebody, right? You're losing somebody from your life. Not permanently, but that's a huge change. And so that has definitely made me think about grief a lot more and things like that. So that's one of my updates. It's just that like realizing that sometimes there's going to be things that happen that make the grief so much bigger and feel so much stronger and whatever. And I know that I was talking about feeling it in my gut, and I'm really starting to, like, it's really in my chest lately. Like, it's just, I feel it. I'm getting a lot of heartburn lately, whether that's related or not, I don't know. But, yeah, that's my update on the grief front. It feels the same, if I'm being honest. Maybe even worse, but that's fine. And since we last chatted, I also have gone back to therapy. And it's been really good for me. I know that I previously mentioned that therapy wasn't something that I really enjoyed or wasn't something that I really found useful, but this time around I think I'm in a different place and I have more specific goals for myself and I'm starting to really enjoy it. Yeah, it's been nice to start that journey. I also might even try some equine therapy. I recently won an auction to go on a equine therapy retreat for a weekend. So I'll keep you updated on that. I'll tell you how it goes. Apparently you just like sit and meditate with horses for a couple of days. Not sure if I'm going to go yet. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm not completely down in the dumps lately. I'm starting to see the hope and starting to see the light, so to speak. So yeah, that's my update. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. Bye.
Serena, I have such a vision of her at equine therapy for the weekend of just like Sandra Bullock in the movie 28 Days trying to lift the horse's foot up.
Yeah. And she's just like, why am I
need
here?
this.
I need
this
it
right now.
It's like oscillating between like, this is everything to me and also like,
what
why,
the fuck am I
here?
But you know what's interesting is that she bid on this auction. She said it was an auction. So it's like she obviously was like, well, that's interesting. There was something in her that was like, and then she won. Talk about the universe.
I'm not positive, but we did go to the bar and I'm pretty sure she was drunk and bid on it thinking it was something else.
Okay.
I will fact check that, but...
Fact check it because until we have that, I'm going to say it was her inner soul that wanted her to get equine therapy and was like, I'm willing to try that. But I will say, you know, what I found really striking about what she said was... She started off by saying, like, I'm not doing great. And if I'm being honest, which I love when someone says, if I'm being honest, because it doesn't help yourself to lie to.
Yeah, it's like, no, we actually wanted the dishonest answer.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, if you come out to people and tell them that you're doing better than what you are, like, it doesn't change their life one way or the other.
No.
All you did was hurt yourself because you took away an avenue to really be honest with somebody. So I love that
maybe their avenue to be honest with you in return.
Exactly. Or maybe a person who might support you, say something you wouldn't have thought of. Like, who knows what you're shutting the door to if you're not honest. And that was one of the takeaways of that episode. That episode stayed with me after recording it for weeks. Like I was thinking about her.
I had so many people message either myself, or I know you got messages too, or just like the edit account, just being like, thank you so much for talking about this. This really stuck with me. People reached out to us to talk about other things that have happened to them. Like it was really meaningful to a lot of people.
Yes.
And I thought it was really great. Like we were able to laugh about certain things, which is awesome. But obviously it's super sad. And I don't know. I think be gentle with yourself with the breakup. Like losing anyone you love is hard regardless of like how permanent the loss is.
Yeah. But that's what comes through in everything she does or says is her bravery.
Yeah. I just got a text from Serena. I said, did you bid on the equine therapy or did you think it was something else? I have vague memories. And she said, I did. LOL. I thought it was a horseback riding trail. Didn't think it was a weekend excursion to hang out with horses. You don't even get to ride them. What the fuck is that?
All right. Well, then I stand corrected. She wasn't her inner instincts bidding on something she thought she needed. But I will say, I think it's the universe telling her she needs that.
There you go. It's always something.
It's something we're spending it.
Yeah.
But back to her bravery, in her saying, in her like owning up to the fact that like I don't feel as good, that really tracks with starting therapy in some ways.
Yeah.
Like I do think sometimes when you start to like, okay, like let's say you've got a really messy room and you've just had the door shut for a really long time and the lights have been off. And now you're like, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to clean that room. You open the door and you see the dust and you see the humongous task that lies in front of you. That can be overwhelming and you might initially feel worse.
Yeah.
But stay with it.
Yeah.
There's the only way through it is through it. Because over time, you're going to start to throw things away. You're going to start to separate things out. The dust will be cleared. And before you know it, you're going to have that room. You're going to have the room again.
Yeah.
But, I would also like to point out that our expert of the day for that episode was Patricia, my former therapist, who I just absolutely worship. And one of the things that she said was like long-term grief. You might be like, no, I'm fine, but I have migraines, or, that was part of what she said. And like you hear it in Serena, I'm feeling it in my chest or I'm feeling it in my body and I'm having these physical reactions, and that's the emotions wanting to come out.
Yeah. I mean, everyone should read that book, The Trauma Keeps the Score, or whatever. The Body Keeps the Score.
I started it, but I didn't finish it.
I will say she's been getting a lot of feedback. I know she's been telling me like people from our family have reached out, which is like shocking. And then also people from, her workplace, her friends. So like, I hope it's been like a opportunity for other people to like witness how brave she is and how like, grown up she is. Hopefully that comes with an amount of support.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Serena. Thank you.
Thank you, Beans.
Okay. Isn't it funny that she's Beans and Aileen is Bean to me?
Yeah.
That's funny. We've got two Beans.
Serena
Season 1.
Beana.
Okay. So now we're on to Becca. Friend breakup.
Becca.
Friend breakup. That was a big one. Here we go. Oof.
Hey, Robin. It's been a while since we last talked, and I'm glad to report that I'm doing much better. Time is something that you can't really rush, but I found I really have needed to heal and to really develop new relationships and new perspectives on my past friendships. It's still difficult to think about, what my life would have looked like if we had never fallen out. It's something that I still struggle with, but have kind of been able to put into the long-term part of my brain rather than something that I look at every day, which is really great. Being able to move forward and make so many new relationships. And in the last year, since things kind of went down with my previous friend group, I've been able to meet so many new people and really learn how to trust and reach out and put my faith in other people again, which is really great. And it's funny, I'm actually getting over the flu right now, which is kind of not funny, but I had so many people that are in my circle now of friends reach out and, offer to DoorDash me green juice and tissues, and it really made me reflect on the people I have in my life now and those people who care about me enough to check in on me and want me to be doing okay. And, you know, time goes on and you have a choice of sticking in the past or going with it. And I'm really proud of myself for being able to go with it.
It's so nice that these people showed up for her and that gave her the opportunity to see growth.
Yeah. I think it's also, you know, important just to see that, because I think a lot of people could just blow past that, be like, I have the flu, it was shitty, you know?
Yeah.
But to be able to like take that moment and reflect and be like, oh, I have this like community around me. I built this.
Yeah.
And I love what she said about, you know, it's still with me, but it's like a long-term thing, not something that's with me every day. Because I think, you know, it's a fallacy to be like, oh, this is gone, it's done, it's like wrapped up, it's tied in a little bow. Because it's not, but putting it in like the bucket for like, okay, this is something that I'm going to deal with later, or that's like not like heavy with me every day, or like causing me anxiety every day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a grief. You know, we talked about that in the episode, that we don't talk about friendship breakups in the same way that we do romantic, but there is a grief there, and grief does come in waves, and it does, and then the waves get further apart until it's part of a memory. And you know, so there's that real portion of what she talked about time in there. But I also think, going back to the thing about the flu and people recognize it, like when I was like a young parent, like when my kids were young, oftentimes like my kids would have slipped into a new phase, like, you know, going from like the terrible 2s into like 3s, you know, and I wouldn't know it until we were around someone else with kids that were younger. And I'd be like, oh, well, my kids put their shoes on now by themselves. So that's interesting. We're not in that phase anymore. Or they're able to eat now, or they're able to do this or do that. And that's why I think sometimes like things like group therapy are really cool settings, you know, and again, another pitch for talking to people, because.
Or coming on the Well Adjusting podcast.
I mean, come on. This is a whole commercial for coming on the Well Adjusting podcast. But, you know, like that's when things show up, is when there's an external thing that forces you to look at, like, staying in your head alone is bad. I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
I know we're not supposed to say bad or wrong, but it's not helpful. There's better choices.
Yes.
Than staying in your head alone.
I agree.
All right. I think we have one more voice memo.
Oh, Podgy.
From Podgy. Oh my gosh. Here we go.
Hey there. So yeah, last time we talked, I had no idea what I was doing and just had a bunch of ideas floating around. And so I'm happy to say that now I am pursuing a graphic design degree at school, and I'm really enjoying it. I've got all A's. Yeah, I'm really glad I took this step, and I'm really enjoying it. I've also gotten back into therapy, and then, you know, committed and started dating again, ? So yeah, I have taken that next step, and I'm happy that I've done so.
Podgy took like 7 steps.
What? Like, that was like huge update.
In school, has all A's.
Subtle flex.
Back in therapy, fully committed.
Yes.
I'm dating.
Like, love that all for you.
Podgy.
Love it all. Way to go.
That is so exciting.
I don't know which part to start on, but I'm just stoked for all of it.
Well, I'm just so happy to hear so many folks talking about like getting back to therapy. Because I think that like coming on the podcast with the question is the first like willingness to be like, I do actually want to talk about this. I really do want to talk about this. And it's a safe space to begin talking about it. And then I think sometimes the next logical is, all right, well, I should probably talk to someone with real credentials.
To therapy.
We're a gateway. We're not like a gateway to heroin. We're a gateway to therapy.
We're a gateway to therapy. Well, adjusting the gateway to therapy.
I will say I got a lovely, lovely note from Patricia saying how much she loved the podcast, which I have like full disclosure. I was very nervous. There's a weird like power imbalance to bring your therapist in when you're not currently with the therapist. I was like, I hope she thinks I'm doing okay. You know, it's like, that's like, there's a weird.
You're like, thanks for doing the recording. And by the way, how do I seem?
Do I seem okay? I think I feel okay. Do I feel okay, Patricia? Am I all right? But she sent this really nice note saying how much she loved it and how she felt like we created this like almost like an alternate like group therapy kind of thing where people could hear themselves. And I was like, Patricia thinks I'm doing good.
That's cool. I'm surprised she listened. So thanks, Patricia.
Well, I sent her the links.
Okay.
Because it's like, she's like my long lost mom. I was like,
so
Patricia.
Robin also has straight A's from From Patricia.
Producer Robin. Please love me. But yeah, so it's like that. Just congratulations, Podgy, on like getting it moving and getting out there in all those areas.
Yeah. Slaying it.
But we did have some like verbal updates.
Oh, yeah.
You heard from Yaz.
Yes, I heard from Yaz, and he, I think, like, honestly, a week ago, went into work and was like, look, y'all, I'm leaving in June. So
Wait, he quit his job.
He quit his job, but 6 months, gave 6 months lead time.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Because he's delightful.
He's great. Yeah.
Because he's delightful. That's why he would do that.
But the reason he quit his job, I think, was in part because maybe it wasn't the best environment for him to be himself, but also because he applied to Columbia and got in. And I know in our interview, he was mentioning like potentially using it as like a
stepping stone
to get into like policy or whatever. So that's what he's pursuing, and he's already on the way.
That is incredible. It's funny because you could tell in the interview that he was just like, this is a means to an end. If I can make it a year, I can. And so it's like he wasn't even like, he was already plotting. And I think that's a really wonderful in the workspace advice, because just because you're miserable in a job doesn't mean you have to sit there and be a cancer at the job. You can sit there, you can do your work at whatever level you're comfortable, knock it out of the park, status quo, anything in between, and be pursuing what your next step is at the same time. It's not always easy. It is not always easy because there's a comfortableness that comes with being in the job, and there's like a, it takes up a great deal of your time, and you have to figure out how to multitask, like when you can send out, but you can be lunching, doing informational meetings. You can be talking to people to be like, well, what was your next step? There's a lot you can do to move things forward while you're in a job, applying to grad school or law school or some other program, like a training program. You can do an application on your lunch hour.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that's a really great example of you always have choice. You never have to stay in something that doesn't make you happy.
Absolutely.
Just like, of course, he's nailed that.
Oh, I'm really happy for him.
I loved that talk with him.
Yeah.
Congrats, he was so lovely. He just was.
Watch out, Columbia.
What about Larkin? I heard from Larkin like that she loved it and she had a new job.
Yeah.
And that she had sent it to her boss to listen to. And I was like dying to know if people around her perceived her in the same way she perceived herself, but we never heard back.
We did not hear back that was from the old job, no?
That was from the old job.
Yeah.
Any of her old jobs.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but I do know that she has a new job and that she's really liking it. So I mean, that's great, because maybe that was the problem. Maybe the people, like, we'll never know.
Yeah.
Or maybe we will if she lets us know.
Yeah.
But, like, we'll never know if those people were, like, judgmental and making her feel a certain way, or if that was, like, internal and she was projecting that, or a combination of both, which is probably most likely. But the cool thing is that she recognizes the parts that are her own doing that she can change, and she's changed.
And she made a change.
She made a change in her like surrounding the people she's surrounding herself with.
You know what else is really cool that came out of it? So Carrie, who was our expert of the day, is actually an old friend of mine from college.
Oh, so cool.
Amazing. I mean, just like a badass,
super cool
human. Like female executive, just fucking killing it. So when I was scheduling the interview with Carrie, she was like, I don't get to talk directly to the person. She was like, I thought I was going to get to talk to, and I was like, after we did the interview, which she killed. I mean, we had to cut out like 20 minutes of incredible content because, it didn't fit, but it was so good. But after that, she said, could I talk to Larkin? And I was like, absolutely, I'll hook you guys up. And they had like a kind of like a mentoring conversation. And I just thought, that's so incredible.
So like, what a cool human to do that.
Amazing. She is just amazing. She's
but
an amazing
I love that
person.
for both of them. I love that for Larkin. I hope that, I think that would be such a good relationship to come out of. Oh, we made a friendship out of our podcast, a mentorship.
But it's just also just like another great reminder that in the workspace that anyone around you or connected through people can, in a way, mentor you. And it doesn't mean you have to be part of some, year-long solidified corporate program.
Yeah.
You can ask anyone. And I think when you use the word mentor in the same way that another problem we ran up against when we were asking for experts of the day, what did every single person say that we reached out to be an expert of the day?
Oh, I don't know if I'm an expert. I don't really have anything.
I don't have anything to share. I'm not an expert. It was like the word claiming expert was really difficult for people. But we were like, I was like, trust me, you're an expert. You're coming in. Yeah. And they all were. So maybe not saying the word mentor, because you might like, what do I have to offer you? But anybody who has a work experience or who's worked, even if they have less years, can mentor you in a way.
Oh, for sure.
Anyone.
Yeah. I hate the like age part of it where it's like, oh, the person has to like be in your same industry and older than you. It's like, no, like I have a mentorship with another person in my industry who has totally different experience and he's a lot older than me, but like we learn from each other because like, guess what? I came into the industry like, years later. So I know different people, know different things, like, and so does he. So I don't know. I think mentorship is a weird word, but you can just like go for drinks and get advice from people or hear their experiences.
Well, I think of it like from a 12-step program point of view, they always talk about look for someone who has what you want.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great way to look at things. Like if somebody is just killing it in like follow through or projects, like they know how to lay out a project or how to like set a goal and achieve it, they could be in a totally different industry from you.
Yeah. Also, it's not like what this person says is 100% the truth. It's like, oh, I'm going to pick and choose the little bits that like work for me and I'm going to try to incorporate them into whatever I'm doing or building or learning.
And if you're afraid to ask people, like to say, oh, who am I to ask such and such a person? You need to remember that oftentimes like people love to talk about their successes or where they've come from, or to like, it's a moment for them to look back on how they've succeeded. It's really flattering for someone when you come up to them and say, I like what you're doing. Do you think you could tell me a little more about that? Most people, if they're not turd faces, will say yes to that.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind and ask. And we had one last update from Amanda.
Yes, which is, I mean, short. I don't totally know what the relationship is with guilt and money, but there was like a lot of like guilt and family stuff. And I do know that Amanda's sibling and his wife and 2 kids like all came to visit Amanda in Montreal. And she like took the kids out a bunch and like decorated the house really cute and like bought them lots of little things. And I know her, so I know she would have probably felt guilty about doing that or spending that much or, buying them gifts and stuff like that. But I know they had a really, really good trip and she like did all that and felt really good about it after.
And that was specifically one of the things she wanted to work on.
Yeah. So that was like huge for her.
Oh, good for you, Amanda. The mic got turned on me at one point, and you said to me, like, well, how are you celebrating? Like, no, we're talking about slowing down, and you were like, how are you celebrating things? And I was like, if I don't use food to celebrate, how do I celebrate things? Like, it really sent me into like how does one celebrate yourself responsibly? Like doing something like is going to the gym, celebrating yourself. And I booked the Dear Headspace hosting job. I was already producing it and they auditioned me to host, and I booked it, and you were like, how are you going to celebrate? And I had texted my sister because I was like, I don't even understand how to celebrate myself without food. And she was like, what if you just like took like a little spa bath? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, the kids got me all these like bath bombs. So
cute.
I went in the middle of the day. I got out like a little like beverage. I turned the lights down. I threw the bath bomb in. And in the best surprise ever, the bath bomb had some like fucking like LED light that changes colors and floats around the tub.
Incredible.
And I just celebrated myself. And it was such a nice moment. And it wasn't about the bath. It was about claiming the win for myself, which is something I never did before.
I do need you to know that I'm picturing like a strobe light, like a gay dance club in the bathtub.
It's like a slowly like red, green.
But yeah, I love that. I mean, that's something I think I probably turned the mic on you in that way because that's something that I try to do a lot. I'm like, how do I take a moment, again, take the pause and be like, oh, this is a good thing. I like should be nice to myself about it. I should try to like bookmark this so that when I'm remembering the 95 million things that are terrible in the world, because I'm going to, as a person, remember those. Yeah. I also come back to this like moment where I did this nice thing.
Yeah.
Which like it's months later and you're still remembering that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still with me. And I kept the little, if you dry the thing off, it shuts the light off, and I put it back in the bath whenever I want to celebrate myself.
Oh my God, so cute. Yeah. Now you have a thing. You have like an anchor, a literal anchor. It goes in the water.
And I put it in for Maxine the other day. She was like having a bad day, and I said, hold on. I said, let me draw you a bath, and I put the light fixture in for her. And it's like,
God.
But I want to say something about you. Early in the season, we were taking meetings, and you really had trouble claiming your CEO-ness and ownership and bookending. We had a meeting this week with another team, and you seamlessly and effortlessly claimed your title and what your work, and you didn't degrade yourself. I thought that was real progress.
It is something I'm working on. I think I've upgraded my title to CEO and founder.
I love that even we grew in this season.
For
like
sure.
Just that we were like, we're not sitting here just telling people what to do.
Oh my
It's
God,
more just about
not.
like, how can we all show up and be just a little bit happier?
Yeah. And like help each other be a little bit happier. Okay, Robin, I think we know what time it is in the episode. One last time.
Okay. And by the way, tip, here we go. And by the way, here's what I want to say. Goodbyes are hard. But they are not forever. And as we talked about with Serena, like death might be permanent, but lost parents, friends, family, they are always with us. And I mean, you really just only need to ask my medium psychic friend, Lisa, because my mom shows up all the time. She's my dead mom. But anywho, I don't mean to bring things down with death, but I think that there's another way to look at transitions, is that they're a nice time to assess or to adjust and set new goals. Mm-hmm. And with time, there is an end, and that means that there is always a new beginning. So I like to use birthdays or New Year's or leaving a job or after a breakup. Like sometimes those can feel traumatic and hard, but maybe take a moment to say goodbye to what just was. But then also think about what you want this next phase of your life to be. Put it out into the universe so that you can live out into your new goals. And like I always say, when I am talking about setting goals, you do not have to get 100% of what you want. But God, if you get 50, 75, 85%, that is so much more than you had before you set that goal. So what Steph and I are saying is, you've got this. Just go for it. Okay, so season 1 is officially a wrap, Steph. We did it.
That's a wrap, baby!
Remember when everybody was doing that with the fake horns? So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, for listening, for rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. What? You have not done that yet?
Rude.
What? Please do it. We still need you. It helps us get the word out.
Yes.
But we can't thank you enough, and we can't wait to be back with you with season 2. Be on the lookout, because when winter is dying and spring is on the horizon, so too will season 2 of Well Adjusting.
Yes. Hit us up if you want to be on it.
Yes, please. Give the email address one more time where they can get us.
hello@editaud.io.
Or you can DM Edit Audio or Real Rob Hops on any of the socials. If you've got an idea and you want to be on the podcast, or you know somebody who would be good for, holler. They have to want to be on it too, though.
Yeah, that's
like, let's not volunteer people for therapy.
Yeah, it's not an intervention.
And I have to say so many thanks to you, Steph, CEO and founder of Edit Audio.
That's me.
And your entire team, Maria, Melissa, Kathleen, and the whole frigging team for helping us make Well Adjusting.
And shout out to Robin for being host extraordinaire, writer extraordinaire, interview extraordinaire, producer extraordinaire.
And I'm not even going to make a joke about that. We're just going to keep it moving.
Incroyable.
We did it.
At Cosmopolitan, we're famous for keeping your secrets and for getting to the bottom of your most burning questions. In a new podcast, we're turning our notorious Cosmo confessions into a safe space to talk out all the gory but helpful details of getting through life's weirdest stuff, from toxic in-laws.
The in-laws are going about this the wrong way because that's trash.
To friends with messy finances.
Should you be lending your friends money?
To having crushes on your coworker. Listen to Confessions wherever you get your podcasts. And send us your confessions.